This is Ryan Murphy.
And this is Michael Martin Murphy, and you're listening to Real Life, Real Music.
Real Life, Real Music Radio with your host, Kyle Hutton.
There's some people here as excited as me tonight. I love it. I love that. Well, hello, Ryan. How are you down there?
Kyle, doing good.
Good. We want to hear some really good stories about your old man tonight, okay? So we're going to put you on the spot. But Murph, you know I love you. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. You and I have done quite a few capers and done a lot of interviews in a lot of sometimes crazy places. This is one of the more normal places we've done interviews, but
this is nice.
In the middle of the winter when it was 10 below at Steamboat Springs, and when I had a little cabin over there just on the other side of Rabbit Ears Pass, and we used to fear for our lives to drive to that festival every day to play shows, but you were there to interview.
And you know, I'll tell you this.
Talk about chilling out. That was chilling out.
It was extremely cold. But if you want to, the highlight of my trip, I don't know how many of you ever been to Steamboat Music Fest in Colorado. A few of you, I see a few hands. It's a great music festival, and there's all kinds of music, and it's just, of course, the skiing, and you got Steamboat, Colorado. But you can't beat this. Michael Martin Murphy, Cowboy breakfast, cooked to order, in his condo. He invited me and my wife over for breakfast and cooked us breakfast in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
And then you were going to go cross country skiing with me, but you never showed up.
I was too full. I was too full. Man, Murph, we are going to, if you would indulge us, we are going to really take a walk through your career and really talk about some of the important things that have happened on the way. You've really had this magical, mystical. You've had so many lives in the music business and done and accomplished so many things. I want to touch on as many of those as we can tonight, but I wonder if you would just pick one of the songs from one of the first records that really put you on the map, and that's a record called Geronimo's Cadillac. Rolling Stone, when you put that record out, Rolling Stone named Michael Martin Murphy the best new songwriter in the world after he released Geronimo's Cadillac.
Okay, we're going to do that one first?
Yeah.
All right.
Or just one from that record.
Well, This is from the record. This is Geronimo's Cadillac. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I do. I do want to talk about that one.
Well, I was an activist in the Native American rights movement, although I don't have any Indian blood. But I had just become drawn into that because the civil rights movement was big in the 60s and 70s when I was a teenager and growing up, and I was pulled into that and attracted to that, but I felt like the Native Americans were kind of left out of that conversation, and they were totally left out of it, as a matter of fact. I didn't just feel that way. It's a fact, they were left out. And so I started visiting reservations. I became friends with a guy at University of Texas who became a lawyer for the Lakota Sioux, and just over time it developed that way. My first song, this song, was a protest song, which came out 1 year before Wounded Knee.
Wow. And
it was banned on 15 radio stations around the country, including Boston.
Wow.
And Houston, actually. Houston banned the record. And that was all because I was just advocating for Native American rights. That was how far back they were pushed at that point. And there was a lot of resentment for anything that smacked of civil rights back then, because the nation had just been through so much anguish over that. When I saw a picture of Geronimo sitting in a Cadillac in his autobiography, which he dictated to a government interpreter while he was a prisoner at Fort Sill, and then it was published. I saw this picture. It's the most incongruous, surrealistic thing I'd ever seen. You know, the greatest guerrilla fighter of all the Native American leaders sitting in a Cadillac. And what happened was when they got him to Fort Sill, they dragged him out of his cell, made him dress up in the same kind of outfit that John D. Rockefeller would wear, put him in a Cadillac, and then photographed him with his other chiefs and associates who were also imprisoned at that same prison. And there's something about the picture. I just kept staring at it, and I realized, although he wasn't smiling, he also wasn't angry. He'd already been through plenty of anger, I guess. But he was looking straight into the camera, and the look said, "I survived. I'm still here." He did have 50 bullet wounds in his body when he died, and it didn't die of lead poisoning or his bullet wounds. He actually fell off of a wagon after they let him out of his cell. He chose to stay at Fort Sill and be a watermelon farmer. He actually hit a bump on a wagon and fell off and hit his head, and that's what killed him.
Wow.
But his story is something I highly recommend that any American read. The book is called Geronimo, His Own Story.
They put Geronimo in jail down south, where he couldn't look to give Taurus in the mouth. Sergeant, Sergeant, don't you feel something wrong with your automobile? Governor, Governor, now isn't it strange? Didn't have no cars on the Indian range. Warden, Warden, listen to me. Be brave and set Geronimo free. Whoa, boys, take me back. I want to ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Whoa, boys, take me back. I want to ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Whoa, boys, take me back. I want to ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Whoa, boys, take me back. I want to ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Let me ride. White man, don't you know? Indians had no place to go. Took old Geronimo by storm, ripped off the feathers from his uniform. Jesus, tell me and I believe it's true. Red is a color in the sunset too. Ripped off his land, won't give it back. Said Geronimo a Cadillac. I say, whoa, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Whoa, boys, take me back. I wanna ride in Geronimo's Cadillac. Whoa, boys, take me back. I
Yeah, I mean, I love that song on so many levels. You know, I know Woody Guthrie, some of your heroes were folk singers, and man, that song resonated with so many people and took a stand on an issue that was pretty controversial at the time. Now, you grew up in...
That got me in a lot of trouble, too.
Yeah, well,
I have to say I got on an FBI list because that they played it out the window at the federal troops when they surrounded the courthouse in South Dakota.
Wow.
That was on the Lakota reservation. That's in an area call it Pine Ridge, and they surrounded that courthouse. You can go on the internet now and read about the Wounded Knee, the second Wounded Knee, and you'll be astounded at the amount of weapons that they used. They had helicopters, rockets, everything. Just because 15, 20 people took over this little building. And so it's a very controversial thing with the government, and anybody that had anything to do with it or sympathized with it got on a list, and I got on a list.
You made the list. You made the list. Well, that's...
my most proud award. I wouldn't trade that award for anything.
Isn't it funny though? You know, you got on the FBI list, but you also got on Rolling Stone as the best new songwriter in the world. Okay.
Many years later, George Bush Sr., the first George Bush, asked me to go on the campaign trail with him because, you know, it's no secret I'm pretty conservative politically. And he said, Murph, there's only one problem. I want you to go on this thing, and we got one problem. We checked you out, and we're going to have to vet you at every single show. You'd have to go through the whole security thing all over again because you're on that FBI list. I said, well, let me see. Don't I remember something about didn't you used to run the CIA? And he did. And so he said, okay, I think I can get something done about that.
I love it.
I said, no, I don't want to be taken off the list. If you want to do something about it, that's all right, but I don't want to be taken off the list.
Wear that like a badge. That's cool. Okay, so I want to take everybody, let's go even further back than that record, Geronimo's Cadillac. I want to go further back to, you know, where you got your start. You know, you grew up just a little north of where I used to live. I used to live in Cedar Hill, Texas, and you lived in Oak Cliff. I don't know if you remember that, but I was right there south of you. And man, what a rich musical scene in Dallas at that time of singer-songwriters. You know, guys like Ray Wylie Hubbard and Stephen Fromholtz was from there, wasn't he, originally?
Yeah, he was actually my roommate in college. We had a band together. Johnny Vandiver, the blues singer, was around at that time too. The list is long of people that came from that area. Austin eventually got the credit, and that's probably because Austin took a lot of those people in and gave them gigs.
Right.
Whereas again, you know, the very conservative Southern Baptist area that I grew up in, there just wasn't any place to play. I mean, first of all, Texas did not get liquor by the drink in most counties until 1970. And notice that's about when the Austin scene took off. When that happened. So, you know, it was just hard to find gigs.
Yeah.
Although, you know, there were private clubs and stuff like that, like Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys played in these places.
Yeah.
So it was, but we had these coffee houses where, you know, we sat and listened to music because we couldn't drink anyway. We were too young to do it, and would never have gotten away with it. So Jerry Jeff came down from New York. That's when I first met Jerry Jeff, was probably 1970, 71. He came down from New York to play in that little coffee house called the Rubaiyat. And I started playing a little circuit of coffee house folk clubs here in Texas. There weren't many of them.
Yeah.
But it was, in a way, it was a good thing that we didn't have the other kind of clubs because we didn't have to play cover music.
Yeah.
We got to write our own songs, and people really wanted to hear something new.
Yeah.
And that's what drove me to become a songwriter first before I became a recording artist.
Performer. That's cool. So Ryan, you were all of like a whopping 2 years old when Geronimo's Cadillac came out.
Born in
So Was it your favorite record at the time? No,
I love Geronimo's Cadillac. Yeah, I mean, I used to listen to Geronimo's. I guess probably a little later when I was around 5 or 6, but I always loved that record. I still love that record. I love the picture on the front. Like, that's just how I remember my dad at that age. He just looks so free and happy. And that whole album is just a really ebullient kind of journey through his mystical side that involves like Texas classics, poetry, all the things that he loves are on that one record. So if you really want to check out like what's really going on in his songwriting, and I think that's always an important one to go back to.
Absolutely. Well, one of the songs that I love off of there is Boy from the Country. What if y'all play that one for us?
Okay. Well, that one is one of the earliest songs I wrote. That was on Geronimo's Cadillac, but it had already been recorded by some other people. But most notably, it was the first song that ever brought a royalty check to me when I was a starving artist in LA. I had actually written it in Texas. I took a kind of a body of work with me, and so this song was written about St. Francis, but it was recorded by John Denver because I think because of who it's about, St. Francis is about a man who rebelled against Rome, rebelled against the people of the day, and said, hey, you don't have to have anybody between you and God. Come on. You don't even have to read. You don't even have to be able to read the Bible. Back then, there were so many people that couldn't read that you had to get somebody to interpret it for you, right? And salvation was for sale. You know, that's what eventually caused the Reformation. So St. Francis was one of the early people to see that, and he was a rich kid who stripped off all of his clothes in the city square and walked off in the woods with a sackcloth, literally like we would call a potato sack, a rope tied around his waist, and sandals. And he went off in the woods, and when he came back, he had written all this poetry about seeing God in nature. And I think that's why John liked it. Just John's thing was nature, and he went through a lot of sacrifice in his career before he took off because of what he stood for along those lines too. I'm going to stand up again. I do better when I stand up. My high school choir teacher said you sing better when you stand up. So. Because he called the forest brother, because he called the earth his mother. They drove him out into the rain, and some people even said that the boy from the country was insane, because he spoke with fish in the creek. He tried to tell us that the animals can speak, and who knows, maybe they do. Hey, how do you know they don't
just because they've never spoken to you. Boy from the country left his home when he was young. Boy from the country, he loves the sun. Tried to tell us that we should love the land. We just turned our heads and laughed. You see, we did not understand. But you know, sometimes I think the boy from the country must be the only one who sees. Because the boy from the country doesn't want to see the forest. He'd rather see the trees. Boy from the country left his home when he was young. Boy from the country, he loves the sun. You know, the prophet of every major world religion usually went out into the wilderness, just like Jesus did for 40 days and 40 nights or longer. And that was where they got their message. So they couldn't get the message in the city. They went to the country. So that's why I sing country music, because I think there's a lot out in the country that we miss.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, all right, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned Jerry, Jeff Walker, you mentioned some of those people. Jonathan, is my mic hot? It just seems like it's really, really hot. You good back there? All right.
No, man, you're just strong.
Yeah, I guess that's what I don't know my own vocal power. Okay, so your journey from Oak Cliff to Austin, then to California, but we can't skip over Austin too fast. Because
actually, I went to California first. I had played a few little clubs in Austin, but I moved to Austin after I'd been in California.
Okay, gotcha.
We'll get into
because the Armadillo World headquarters, and I mean, you were. I think the thing that I love about Michael Martin Murphey is yes, and we're going to get to some of those hits, that were recorded in Nashville and came out in the '80s and those sort of things. But you were right there with, Bob Livingston and Gary P. Nunn and
Craig Hillis,
Willie Nelson,
Herb Steiner.
God, all the guys there in Austin when this thing was really taking off, which is amazing to me. But your journey to California resulted in a relationship, with one of the Monkees that resulted in not only some great opportunities, but a great song called "What Am I Doing Hanging Around?" I wonder if you tell us about that and play that one.
I wrote this song when I was 17 years old after I took a train trip with my mother and my aunt to Mexico, and my little brother was with us. And we went to Mexico City, Tasco, and a couple of other cities. That's back when it was kind of safe to do that, and everything was really pure down there, and especially in the central. It was still, borders were still rough, a lot of poverty, but when you got into the central part of Mexico, it was just different. And we were in Tosco, and I asked this young lady about my age out on a date. I couldn't speak Spanish, and she couldn't speak English. And so it was a very European style dating thing. I mean, the father had to meet me first. I met her in a gift shop, but it was her father and mom's gift shop. And they made me come over to the house and sit down and meet the dad the day before we had the date. And he had to kind of approve me, and then I had to come back the next day. He paid for a car, and when I got her into the car to go where we were going, which was to see a bunch of flamenco dancers and stuff, I noticed that there's a lady sitting in the back seat, and it was the grandmother, and she was coming along. So, you know, looking back, having raised a lot of kids and grandkids now, I think it's a pretty good system. I really do. Michael Nesmith was another Texas guy that gets overlooked, that was around during that seminal time period when a lot of people were they were writing a lot of songs, they were looking for a place to be. There wasn't much music business in Texas. They had to end up in other places. We were in the same band in LA. Make a long story short, one day we were reading Variety because we were always starving, always looking for some little gig somewhere, maybe be an extra in a movie or something. And it said, advertisement for a group that's going to have its own TV show. And Nesmith said, man, we got to go down and audition for that. They want musicians who can act. And I said, I don't want to be a part of that thing. 1 year later, he was one of 4 people who were more famous and were selling more records than the Rolling Stones and the Beatles combined. It's been totally forgotten now. It's been totally overlooked. But this thing just took off unbelievably. And they had never done a country song. Nesmith was kind of a country folk singer type. So he called me up one day and said, I'm going to put one of your songs on our 4th album. He said, my record company's against me doing it, but I got enough power now. I'm gonna do it anyway. So this is it. Oh, I got to stand up. I almost forgot. This really requires standing up. Just a loudmouth Yankee, I went down to Mexico. Didn't have much time to spend, about a week or so. I lightly took advantage there of a girl who loved me so. Found myself a-thinking when my time had come to go. What am I doing hanging around? I should be on the train and gone. I should be riding on that train to San Antonio. What am I doing hanging around? She took me to the garden just for a little walk. Well, I didn't know much Spanish and there was no time for talk. She told me that she loved me not with words but with a kiss. Found myself a-thinking of some old train I could not miss. What am I doing hanging around? I should be on the train and gone. I should be riding on that train to San Antonio. What am I doing hanging around?
the train a coming. It's been a year or so and I want to go back again. If I had the money, I'd ride the same old train. I guess your chance has come but once and I sure have missed mine. Find myself a-thinking when I hear some whistle cry. What am I doing hanging around? I should be on the train and gone. I should be riding on that train to Mexico. What am I doing hanging
Very nice. Ryan, are you doing all right over there?
Yes, sir.
All right. So before I forget, our producer just reminded me, I've got to get a liner to kick off the radio program from you guys. And this is always fun because when you got more than one person, we got to figure out how to do the liner. So I'll suggest, this is Ryan Murphy, and this is Michael Martin Murphy, and this is Real Life, Real Music. That's all we need. This is Ryan Murphy, and this is Michael Martin Murphy,
Okay, so
and this is Real Life, Real
So you
Music.
want him to start it off, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
And then you guys are going to go absolutely nuts. This is the big intro to the radio show, okay? So don't screw it up. I'll have you cheer and just hoot
And then we
holler
both say this is Real Life,
for about
Real
4
Music.
minutes, and then I'm going to cut you off. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be short. I'll go like this.
This is Ryan Murphy.
And this is Michael Martin Murphy, and you're listening to Real Life, Real Music.
Man, that was great. You guys are amazing. Yeah, take one. All right. Now let's give it some energy, people. Okay, so man, when I look at your discography and see how fast you guys were putting out records, it was amazing. Geronimo's Cadillac in '72, and then followed it right up in '73 with
Cosmic Cowboy.
Cosmic Cowboy. Yeah. And so, tell us a little bit about that, but then play the song Cosmic Cowboy for us.
Well, I was on a tour after Geronimo's Cadillac came out, and I was in New York, and Jerry Jeff Walker was living in New York. I've known him since, like I told you earlier, the 60s. So I went by to see him, and Livingston and I were sitting on top of the Holiday Inn by the pool in New York City. And actually, it was a beautiful day. And Bob said, "Hey, Murph, I think Jerry Jeff's coming down to the show tonight." I think it was the Bitter End was the name of the place. Same place where Bob Dylan played when he started.
All right.
And Gertie's Folk City, and those other ones that are like that. And he said, "I think Jerry Jeff's coming down." And I said, "Yeah, he's a pretty cosmic guy." Back then, that meant kind of aware, of a bigger universe than just being a country singer, but also being pretty spaced out. Let's put it that way. And, so I wrote this song kind of as a joke. I wrote it down on some napkins and took the napkins down there and put it on a music stand. And when Jerry Jeff walked in, we all stood up and applauded him. And then I sang this song. It was just for fun. It was never meant to become an anthem. It actually kind of ended up being a manifesto for a while there. Burial grounds and merry-go-rounds are all the same to me. Horses on posts and kids and ghosts, spirits we ought to set free. City slicker pickers got a lot of slicker licks than me. But right in the range and acting strange, where I wanna be. I just
cowboy. Wanna be a supernatural country rockin' galoo. Lone Star sippin' and skinny dippin' and steel guitars and stars. Just as good as Hollywood, those boogie woogie disco bars. Gonna buy me a vest and head out west, a little woman and myself. When we come to town, they're gonna gather round and marvel at my little baby's health. I just wanna be a cosmic cowboy. I just wanna ride in a rope and a hood. I just wanna be a cosmic cowboy. A supernatural country rockin' galoo. And harvest moons keep rolling through my mind. A home on the range where the antelope play, pretty dang hard to find. Don't you bury me on the lone prairie. I'd rather play right here, do-si-do live. I'm headed out west, doing my best to keep my old Bronco in four-wheel drive. Hey, I just wanna be a cosmic cowboy. I just wanna ride in a rope and a hood. I just wanna be a cosmic cowboy. Wanna be a supernatural country rockin' galoo. And up is not the way I'm gonna shoot. I think I should have stood up for that last note. Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay.
What a great song. Are y'all doing okay out there tonight? Is everybody good so far? Okay. All right. So Murph, I want to
I want to just add, I was in the health food hippie part of the whole movement. You know, it got to be all about so bad with drugs out in California. I saw friends going down everywhere that I just had to get out of there. And then an earthquake came, and I wasn't into the idea of my house falling in on my 1-year-old son either. So that's when I got back to Austin. But I wanted as far away from the drug scene as I could get. So I left California to get away from drugs and went to Austin, right?
I'm not going to say.
How'd that work out for you, Michael?
Yeah.
But I will tell you that there was you hear a little bit of mention and that kind of stuff in that song. Just down the street from where I live, there was a little hippie co-op that had great organic food. That's the first time I got exposed to the idea of organically grown food. I mean, it's what my grandmother and granddad were growing.
Yeah.
They didn't spray a bunch of stuff on their food. And it was called the Whole Foods Co-op.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
So talk about the road beyond. None of us had any idea where that was all
would happen. Yeah, where that would go. Yeah. Okay, so you know we've focused on just a couple aspects of your music career so far, but really your music career, obviously it has given you huge success and notoriety, but you've used that as a platform to accomplish other things in your life. And one of the things that I know is near and dear to your heart, where you spend time now, is the Murphy Western Institute. And tell us a little bit about the objectives of the Murphy Western Institute.
Well, fast forward over the years, I started off to be a poet about my own backyard. My favorite literature is Mark Twain. He's a riverboat captain, and he's talking about his own backyard. Somehow he got a cosmic perspective out of that, that affected the whole world, and found himself in England, being given a doctorate, at Harvard. Not at Harvard, at Oxford. And so as I've gone through life, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, one of my favorite writers, he writes about only things that happen in South America, in his country. But somehow he unites people all over the world over the way he writes about this, He kind of gets it down to the human elements. So I set out to be a poet of the West. I wanted to write about my own backyard, the American West. And I've just treasured living here, loved every minute of it. It's been a great ride. I've got to ride horses. I've got to be in the ranching business. I've got to be a singing cowboy. And that's what I wanted to be when I was a kid, the singing cowboy. So a few years ago, I saw that Texas and other western states in our country were starting to lose the heritage of the American West. You just didn't see it taught in the high schools, And kids were unaware of stuff like that. Now, there was a revival that came later, and I'd like to think I was a little part of that. But, it got to a point where nobody had ever heard of Wyatt Earp. Kids didn't know who Doc Holliday was. They didn't know who Geronimo was. They didn't know who Chief Red Cloud was. So I started this thing to be a preservation, but also perpetuation of the American West culture. And the things that you can learn from the Native Americans, from the Hispanic people of the West, from the Europeans that came here as pioneers. That struggle, that great clash, that was worthy of, Ulysses, an epic poem, told the story of how human beings live in this boom and bust world of greed. And the clash between the cultures is one of the greatest stories in history. So now we have given money to a lot of projects, but I've collected over 15,000 books about the American West in my lifetime, and I'm gradually giving all of them to Weatherford College up by Fort Worth, and it's called the Murphy Western Library, and people are sending in donations of books, which is the first thing we want. We want the books, because I think we could get into a situation where it's all controlled digitally and there's no more books anymore, and book burning will be the equivalent of what Facebook is doing right now. Hey, we control all the information. Zap, you're off of it. You don't have a voice.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important to keep these books.
Okay. So yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just serious scholarly stuff. There's also a lot of Louis L'Amour and Max Brand and Terry C. Johnston. The pulp fiction is really important because that's where the rubber meets the road with the public on the story of the West. The movies that have been made have mainly come from those kind of writers. So we're trying to collect the complete works of Louis L'Amour, Max Brand, Terry C. Johnson, and a bunch of other Western writers in there, as well as the books that are real serious research on what really happened in the West.
Well, a huge part of your platform of who you are in just and what you mean to Western culture, I think it was definitely propelled by, in a huge way, as it's one of the most played songs of all time, and that's a song called Wildfire. And the reason that I want to bring that song up in reference to the Murphy Western Institute is because when I walked in tonight, I saw a guitar on display over at your merch table and you can see it right over here to my right. If you can see down there, there's a black guitar there that says Wildfire on it, signed by Michael Martin Murphey, with lyrics from the song written or handwritten around the guitar by Michael Martin Murphy. Now, I've been to a lot of like country western auctions and fundraisers and that kind of stuff. They've got 5 or so of those guitars tonight, and they're selling them for $1,500 donation to the Murphy Western Institute. At auctions, those start at like $5,000, and I've seen them go for 20. And so if you want to make a donation tonight to the Murphy Western Institute and leave with one of those guitars, Murph will sign it for you. There's right now, actually, I bought one tonight. I got number 19, okay? So you can get number 20 if you want to. But those are going to be over at the merch table if you want to learn more about what they're doing and make a donation. But this song means so much to so many of us. I wonder if you would play the song Wildfire for us.
Okay. At one time, there were over 25 million wild horses roaming the plains of our country. And then in the 1920s, when people were starving, they invented a thing called dog food. Prior to that, people just fed dogs and cats scraps from the table. To try to get the horses off the range, who were doing a lot of damage to the range, they started slaughtering them and making them into dog food. These wild horses were directly related to the Spanish conquistadors who came here. Once in a while, there'd be a throwback to the kind of horse that King Arthur would ride, or George Washington, or a Spanish king, Charlemagne. They tended to ride white horses. Muhammad rode a white horse. Buddha had 2 white horses. It's always been a symbol of prophecy. And in Revelation 19, it says, the sky opened up, and behold, a white horse. And the rider of the horse had a flame coming from his mouth as if a sword. And he came to bring truth and judgment. And the name of the rider on the horse was the Word of God.
She comes down from Yellow Mountain on a dark flat land she rides on a pony she named Wildfire. A whirlwind by your side on a cold Nebraska night. They say she died one winter when there came a killing frost, and the pony she named Wildfire busted down a stall. In a blizzard he was lost. So by the dark of the moon I planted, but there came an early snow. There's been a hoot owl howling outside my window now 6 nights in a row. It's coming for me, and on Wildfire we're both gonna go. We'll be riding Wildfire, riding Wildfire. We'll be riding Wildfire, on Wildfire we're gonna ride. We're gonna leave side busting behind. Get the hard times right on out of our minds. We'll be riding behold. I saw a white horse. Thank you, Ryan Murphy.
Ryan, I'm going to pitch this question to you over there because, Wildfire, that song has been such a huge song, but it's even taking on a new life, and you got to help give a project. You got to help give a project some amazing musical score, and tell us a little bit about that, because the song Wildfire has now become the basis for a movie that we're all going to be able to see in the not too distant future. Tell us about that, Ryan.
Yeah, I was asked to do the score for the film, and I only knew a little bit about the story, pretty much just the story of the song. So I didn't get to see any of the scenes or read the script, but I just went into the studio by myself and started improvising, playing mainly solo electric guitar, and then I put the melody to some songs that my dad had wrote, as well as I had written, or we had written together. And I was very much inspired. I've always been inspired by the Sergio Leone soundtracks from those films, as well as a great soundtrack done by Neil Young for a film called Dead Man, starring Johnny Depp. That's all just solo electric guitar. And I just think the music, it definitely was fate that it worked out, even though I didn't get to see the scenes, because I think it just goes beautifully with the scenery in the film.
I got to get a little special preview upstairs in the green room, and my understanding is it's going to be out in select theaters in the not too distant future, and then we'll also be able to enjoy it. I think a deal has been struck with Paramount Plus, and there's a variety of different ways we'll be able to watch this film. So,
yeah, it's world premieres in Fort Worth at the Lone Star Film Festival on November 2nd, and then there's a little bit of a break in there, and it premieres in about 10 cities, and then they back off and let Christmas go by, and then it comes out in January to 1,500 theaters around the country. Pretty much anywhere you'll be able to go, you'll be able to see it, and then Paramount Plus streams it. And we never knew when we started making this film that it was going to get that far in distribution, but it's a family film, G-rated, story of a teenage girl who loses her father and mother, and a horse plays an important part of therapy to bring her back to life, as it were. And there's not one curse word in it. There's no gratuitous violence. And so we didn't think we had much of a chance, but a movie called Sound of Freedom came out and blew away a bunch of really big and incredible blockbuster films, because I think people are ready to see something about real life and also have children realize what life is all about. So the white horse represents Christ in this particular movie, but the white horse represents the Holy Spirit of any religion, the Spirit coming in and helping you get past your pain. And I think you'll like it. It's a fun movie too. It's not, believe it or not, with that serious kind of a start and introduction, it's a lot of fun. The movie's, it has Moses Brings Plenty from Yellowstone in it, and Chevelle Shepherd, who won The Voice in 2018. She was 16 when she started filming the movie. She's almost 20 now. But
well, I can't wait to see it after the preview that I got to see. Okay, here's what we're about to do. Murph, what's the name of the movie? Is it Wildfire?
Wildfire, Legend of the Cherokee Ghost Horse. It was all filmed in Oklahoma. In Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
Legend of the Cherokee Ghost Horse. So be on the lookout for that. Now, we have like a handful of hits that happened in the 70s and 80s, in addition to Wildfire, that these people are not going to let us leave here tonight without playing. And so I want to we'll move through those as we're watching our time here. But I'm going to take my Porter Wagner moment for a second, and minus the sequins. I don't have the sequin suit. But I do want to thank our sponsors again, because we could not have made this thing happen for the last 15 years without the help of our corporate sponsors. Chicago Title Houston, they sponsor our radio program, our video podcast, and the live show.
What was the name? What was the name of that?
Chicago Title Houston. Thank you guys. Terry and Steve are here with us tonight. They're always trouble. Watch out for them at the merch table. But we love you guys. We love you. I want to thank my friends at Caldwell Communities again. Chambers Creek just north of here. The Highlands south of here. Their founder, Fred Caldwell, is one of my musical buddies. That guy loves to play guitar. He loves music. And we appreciate everything they do to help us make nights like tonight happen. And then my friends at the Griffin Realty Group. And they are not just sponsors. They helped me sell my house. So thank you, Jesus, for the Griffin Realty Group. I love those guys, too. Let's give all of our corporate sponsors and Do-Si-Do a big round of applause. Thank you. All right. Now, I'm going to ask you about another song on Blue Sky Night Thunder that is one of my favorites, and it's Carolina in the Pines. Will y'all play that song for us?
Yeah, we'll cut the stories right now because we're getting too windy here. So go right to it. Just say that I wrote this the first time I decided I was going to move to the Rocky Mountains, and I recorded this in a studio called Caribou Ranch. And so I was completely away from Nashville and all the other influence from Austin, and recording right there in the middle of the mountains. Yeah. Pretty good start, huh? Okay. She came to me, said she knew me, said she'd known me a long time. And she spoke of being in love with every mountain she had climbed. And she talked of trails she'd walked up far above the timberline. From that night on, I knew I'd write songs. Carolina in the pines. There's a new moon on the 14th, first quarter the 21st, and the full moon to this earth. There's no guesswork in the clockwork of the world's heart or mind. There are nights I only feel right, the Carolina in the when the frost shows on the windows and the wood stove smokes and glows, as the fire grows, gonna warm our souls, watching rainbows in the coals. And we'll talk of trails we walked up far above the timberline. There are nights I only feel right, but Carolina in the pines. Show's almost over. We're not even out of Colorado yet.
You know, Murph, I think if I'm doing my math right, I was about 12 years old, maybe 13 years old, probably heartbroken over some, middle school girl that I passed her the note that said, "Will you go with me?" And she checked no instead of yes. And then I heard the song, "What's Forever For?" And it just, completely, I knew you understood what I was talking about and trying to communicate to that preteen girl, and she just didn't get it. But
maybe you should have told her where you were going.
If she'd only known. I love that song. It is one of the love songs that just absolutely sticks with you.
Well, I want to be totally transparent here. I did not write this song. My producer got on my case because he said, "Michael, you've had a good career, but most of your songs are about horses and Native Americans and pine trees and mountains and stuff like that." He said, "Have you ever thought about doing a love song?" And I said, "Well, I really haven't written that many love songs, not because I don't have any love feelings or haven't ever been in love. It's just I was raised a Baptist and we didn't talk about that in public, so." And so I just never had been able to get it out there. So he said, "Well, go around Nashville, go to meet all the publishers, see if you can find a love song that you like to do." So I came back with this one. It was written by Rafe Van Hoyt. And he was just inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, I think primarily for writing this song. This is one of those songs, it's not a cowboy song, it's not a Texas music song. This is just a phenomenal, great song that you can sing with a symphony, you can sing it by yourself, you can sing it with a jazz group, you can sing it in the country honky-tonk. It works just everywhere because it cuts through everything in the statement that it makes. And I always dedicate it to my parents because they were married for 62 years. My hat's off to them. I've been looking at people, how they change with the times. Lately all I've been seeing are people throwing love away, losing their minds. Maybe it's me who's gone crazy. I can't understand why all these lovers keep hurting each other. Good love is so hard to come by. What's the glory in living? Doesn't anybody ever stay together anymore? If love never lasts forever, what's forever for? I see love-hungry people trying their best to survive. Right there in their hands, there's a dying romance. They're not even trying to keep it alive. What's the glory in living? Doesn't anybody ever stay together anymore?
what's forever for? What's the glory in living? Doesn't anybody ever stay together anymore? If love never lasts forever, what's forever for?
Okay, well, before we even change the subject, let's stay on love songs for a minute, because another one that I love is a song that you recorded called "A Long Line of Love."
And once again, I was kind of incapable of getting my own feelings out, so I turned to a guy named Paul Overstreet.
Oh yeah. Oh, Paul.
And Paul did something remarkable at a time when, in the 90s, in the 80s, when honky-tonk music really took off. There was a big revival of really traditional kind of honky-tonk music, and everybody was dancing in honky-tonks at Gillies and Billy Bob's Texas.
Yeah.
Most of the songs were about they're about dysfunctional relationships, about drinking, divorce, and depression. And it was well known that if you got all three of those in one song, it was a number one song. That's right. Along came Paul Overstreet, and he started writing songs that were about family and about people sticking together, like Rafe wrote about in that song. And it just took off as a songwriter. There was a pent-up demand for people to hear this message. So. Bought a beautiful diamond ring, offered it to the sweetest thing I know. Said she would take it. Started making some wedding plans. She looked at me and she took my hand and she said, "Do you think we can make it?" Said, "My granddad's still in love. My grandma. My dad still thinks my mom the sweetest thing he ever saw. Come from a long line of love. Times get hard. We don't give up. Forever's in my heart and in my blood. Come from a long line of Years went by and we had a son. Now he thinks that he's found someone for him. Planning a wedding. Called me up on the phone today just to see what I had to say to him. Did I think he was ready? Said what his grandfather used to say to me. It's been handed down for ages. It runs in the family. Come from a long line of love. Times get hard. We don't give up. Forever's in your heart and in your blood. Come from
from a long line of
Okay, so another, like, not that it hasn't been a thread through the whole thing, but another extremely discernible part of your career has been cowboy songs.
Yeah.
And so I have to ask you about one of my I mean, I love every cowboy song you've recorded. The old standards, the covers. I want to ask you about one that really broke out and became a huge radio hit. And that was a song called Cowboy Logic.
Yeah. Well, when I decided I was going to do a cowboy songs album, I begged my record company to do it. And Lonesome Dove was about to come out, and I knew about that. And I thought, this is going to be a huge revival of interest in cowboys and the Western, because it's such a great book. It's got to be a great series. You know, my record company said, well, we don't really think that's going to work. We really don't think people are interested in a bunch of old cowboy songs. So I was off my record company for a while. But a very great man who was the head of that record company called me back when this single came out and started doing well. And they said, Murph, we're going to take you back. But if it hadn't been for Ralph Emery, if you remember Ralph Emery?
Oh, yeah.
He put me on his show and said, I'm going to have nothing but cowboy singers on this show and cowboy poets. He came out in a kind of a Doc Holliday outfit and ran an 800 number, and people started calling in to buy the album. Otherwise, it never would have happened. Wow. So I locked myself away in a cabin with two songwriters from Nashville who were both, actually one was from San Antonio, Texas, and one from Muskogee, Oklahoma. And it was Don Cook and Chick Raines. Wow. And we sat down and said, we got to write some cowboy songs. So this song came out of that, and a whole bunch of other nonsense that happened. We really had a good time because we were in New Mexico in a cabin, Cimarron, New Mexico, right on the CS Ranch, you know, going out where you could watch cowboys work every single day, you know, fishing in streams that had unbelievable. It wasn't even luck, you know. It just wasn't even fair how many fish you'd catch. And so here it is. This is about how cowboys think differently than other people. There's a great American hero we all look up to. When times are hard and chips are down, he knows just what to do. A cowboy's got a set of rules that he lives by day to day. And if you ask for his advice, he'll more than likely say, if it's a fence, mend it. If it's a dollar bill, spend it before it burns a hole in the government's jeans. If it's a load, truck it. If it's a punch, duck it. If she's a lady, treat her like a queen. That's Cowboy Logic. Every cowboy's got. It's in the way he lives his life, songs he sings. That's Cowboy Logic. Every cowboy's got. Got a simple solution for dang near anything. If it's a job, do it. Put your whole back into it. 'Cause a little bit of dirt's gonna wash off in the rain. If it's a horse, ride it. If it hurts, hide it. Dust yourself off and get back on again. That's Cowboy Logic. Every cowboy's got. It's in the way he lives
lives his life, songs he sings. Cowboy Logic, every cowboy's got a simple solution for just about anything. Now an old cowboy and a young buckaroo are out working, riding fence. So the old man thought he'd test this kid on his working skills and common sense. He said, "Son, if you saw 3 men riding in the front of a pickup, dressed alike from boot to hat, could you tell which one was the real cowboy just from where he sat?" Well, the kid, he scratched his head a while and said, "Oh man, there ain't no way to know." The old fellow said, "Son, on this outfit, you got a long, long way to go." You see, the real cowboy is the one who sits in the middle. He ain't just there by fate. First of all, you know he's a real cowboy if he's sitting in the middle of that old pickup, because on the way home from the Do-Si-Do concert, real life, real music, on the way home, riding in that pickup in the middle, he doesn't have to be the designated driver. But that's not the only reason the cowboy sits in the middle. He's not just there by fate. The real reason why the cowboy sits in the middle of the old pickup is he don't want to have to drive. And when he gets back to the ranch, he don't want to have to get out and open the gate. That's Cowboy Logic, every cowboy's got. It's in the way he lives his life, songs he sings. That's Cowboy Logic, every cowboy's got a simple solution, just about anything.
Are y'all doing okay out there? Is everybody good? Okay, because listen, here, first I want to ask this. Murph, I heard a rumor that possibly you were going to be hanging around the merch table and maybe signing some stuff and shaking some hands after the show.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate? Okay, and
I've been known to do that.
We've got the Wildfire guitars with donations to the Murphy Western Institute. You've got shirts, hats, all kinds of fun stuff, and so make sure you stop by over there, say hi to Murph after the show. But let's.
I thought of something.
Okay.
I was gonna do a certain song, and I just thought I want to do one of those old cowboy songs that you talked about. And this is one of the oldest. And this is the 20th. Excuse me. This year is the 200th anniversary of the Texas Rangers. And think about the fact the Texas Rangers have been around, right, since 1823.
Wow.
Started off by Stephen F. Austin and later on picked up by Sam Houston. Probably the mightiest force of police in the history of the world. When you look at the territory that they covered, and when Texas was a republic, got very little help, no help from the United States of America. You were on your own. They didn't want to get involved in the war with Mexico. And so these were some amazing people, and the stories, Texas Rangers are legend. There is a museum that Murphy Western Institute is working on helping out with. Just helping out. We're not the main people behind it, but it's the former Texas Rangers Society. And that's one of the programs of ours, is to support the former Texas Rangers. They're building an interactive educational center about the Texas Ranger in Fredericksburg, Texas. And they're having a big gala coming up on November 4th, I believe it is. And I've already been to a couple of their other auctions and galas, and you can't believe the people that come in for these auctions. They come in from all over the world just to buy Texas Ranger stuff.
Wow.
So this song is probably one of the earliest Western songs that you think of as being from the West. And it's based on an old Irish melody. There was a burial chant. They buried sailors at sea. Nobody knows who wrote the lyrics, but you might say a whole bunch of experiences wrote it. Come all you Texas Rangers, wherever you may be. I'll tell you of some trouble happened unto me. My name is nothing extra, so that I will not tell. And here's to all you Rangers, I am sure I wish you well. It was at the age of 16 I joined the Jolly Band. We marched from San Antonio unto the Rio Grande. Our captain, he informed us, oh, I guess he thought it right, that before we reached the station, we'd surely have to fight. And when we reached the station, our captain gave command. To arms! To arms, he shouted, and by your ponies stand. I saw the smoke ascending, and it seemed to reach the sky. And then the thought it struck me, my time had come to die. I saw the Comanches coming, I heard them give a yell. My feelings at that moment, no human tongue can tell. I saw their glittering lances, and their arrows round me flew. And all my strength had left me, and all my courage too. And when the sun had risen, our noble captain was slain. The sun was shining sadly across the bloody plain. 16 of a brave of a Rangers has ever rode the West, buried by their comrades with arrows in their chests. Well, now my song has ended. I guess I sung enough. The life of a Texas Ranger, you see, is very tough. And if you have a sweetheart who don't want you to roam, I advise you by experience, you'd better stay at home.
Man, Murph, every time I get to spend time with you, I feel like I learned something new historically. That's one of the things that I love about you is your insatiable quest for knowledge of history and where we come from, and I appreciate that. One part of your musical career that we have to touch on with a couple more songs before we get out of here is the journey that you're now on. with your son,
Yeah.
Ryan, and the music that you guys are making together. Ryan, I've had the opportunity to listen to your collaborations with your dad. How does that feel to make music with this guy up here after watching him for all the years that you have?
It was all truly a dream come true. We had been wanting to make an album together, collaborate on an album probably since the 90s when I first started playing lead guitar in the band. And we had written a song for an audiobook called Blues for 66 and gone into the studio. It's one of the first songs we wrote together. And then we just started writing a whole slew of songs. We wrote a song called Running Shadow that was featured on the America's Forces album. And we kind of just continued to write over the years. I started to produce albums. But that dream in the back of my mind was still there that someday we'd collaborate on original songs we wrote together, and I would play all the guitar and Dad would sing all the leads, and it would be about the Southwest, and it would also have a little influence of Latin music and all the jazz music I had learned from playing with some great swing artists over the years, Texas swing guitarists like Rich O'Brien, and great accordion players like Joey Miskelin, and all these musicians I got to meet along the way. And so I tried to put all of that into the guitar playing on the album, and then lyrically, we really just wanted to pay tribute to the Southwest.
Yeah. Well, the record came out in 2022. It's called Road Beyond the View. I wonder if you guys would play that title track for us.
Well, let us play Route 66 first, because I have to change my tuning to
All
play
right,
that.
let's do it.
And I really want to end on Road Beyond the View anyway.
All right, let's do it. Blues for 66. This is a great song.
I'm headed for Springfield, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Albuquerque, and Winslow. Passing Studebakers, Thunderbirds, Navajos and grazing herds, Ashford and Seligman and Ludlow. We'll hit Pasadena, she'll be looking pretty. Maybe she'll become one of those Hollywood chicks. We'll be feeling just like movie stars, chasing sun-stripped hot rod cars, singing the blues for 66. I'm so thankful for this mother road. Got to drive it till I find my mother love. Put me in a postcard with an Arizona sunset, where the jackalope or some fur-bearing trout. Gonna live out on the open road, burgers and pie a la mode. So long I-40, this guy's bugging out. Evening shadows at the Rockin' 66 diner. To come carry always seem pretty nice to me. Roswell's got the UFOs, scientists in Los Alamos, but I'd rather tour with dinosaurs and chiefs. Thankful for this mother road. Got to drive it till I find my mother alone. Like a GI dude hitchhiking home for Christmas, like the James Dean and the Marlon Brando flicks. Got a leather jacket, warm cafe, don't want to go back anyway. I got the blues for 66.
the blues for 66.
Have y'all had a good time tonight? Man, what a great night. What a great night. Hey, you want to introduce these guys that have been holding it down all night
I was
tonight?
just thinking that we better do that. First of all, right behind me here is a guy who does a lot of work in cowboy churches and churches around the Dallas area, playing contemporary Christian music. He's been on a lot of recordings. I first met him in that setting. He's also got his own percussion school and teaches a lot of kids and adults how to be better percussionists. His name is Paul Piper. And then this character back
staring
here,
at my back of my head all night.
he's from Amarillo, Texas, originally. He now lives in Taos, New Mexico, where he also has a career as a sculptor and a painter. And guess what genre of art? Western art, of course. And we've been working together for over 40 years now. Gary Roller on bass.
Ryan, it's truly been a pleasure getting to hear you play and spend time with you in the green room and get to know you a little bit. And man, thank you for being here tonight. And Murph, as always, you honor me with your presence. Thank you for being here this evening and being here with us.
Okay, the presents will come later, okay? I've been influenced a lot by Gary too. I've always gotten a lot of ideas for songs from paintings, and so this song came from my love and Ryan's love of Georgia O'Keeffe. I spent a lot of my life in New Mexico, and when I first moved there, she was still alive and working over in Abiquiu. Her story is amazing because she never sold out. She never did one bit of commercial art in her life. She just painted her vision every day. And toward the end, she was going blind, so she started working with her hands and doing some really interesting sculptures. What I like about Georgia is her ability to create art that you can't understand. It's inscrutable. It's beautiful, but you look at it for hours, even days, even a lifetime, and you can't quite get through to the meaning of it. And she once said something that I've started to use as my creed in living, and that is, she said, the secret to being an artist is to make your unknown known, and always keep the unknown just up around the hill and ahead of you. Flowers in the nursery, ram's head floating by, dead roses for Anita, floating mountains in the sky, one for Arthur and lavender, a nursery of bones, petals in the desert, a palette of stones, apples from a broken tree, skulls in the clouds, green simplicity, unspoken doubts, underlying purple chaos, screaming red from above, antlers from eternity, dead letters, broken love, the road beyond the view, far away nearby, chase a red clay moon to the wild-eyed night. Tonight I'm coming home again,
from a place I never knew. Black Mesa in a dark wind, on the road beyond the view. Tonight I'm looking for another place, on the road beyond the view. You know, I thought I saw your face, far away and close to you. In a canvas hidden turquoise, I saw a blue lark spur. In the spaces of emptiness, I hear the messenger. I want to live beyond politics, red and blue religion too. Walk the desert playing pickup sticks, solving riddles false and true. Cross of Jesus in the sunset, bleeding heart wasteland. In the cliffs beyond Abacu, in a sea of sage and sand. Road beyond the view, far away nearby. Chase a red clay moon into the wild-eyed night. Tonight I'm coming home again, from a place I never knew. Black Mesa in a dark wind, on the road beyond the view. Black Mesa in a dark wind, on the road beyond the view.
Gentlemen, Ryan Murphy and Michael Martin Murphy. Thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here.